More MCU movies have been delayed, and we're going to talk about that. But also, the reason they're being delayed is because of Sony Pictures, which is so odd, and I need to break down what I think this means. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button like an angry Kevin Feige, and let's get right into this news. Now, you've probably heard about Marvel Studios delaying a bunch of their movies, but maybe you haven't really considered or heard how they are playing nice with Sony Pictures, the fact that that is why they are delaying this, and the fact that Marvel has given up some of their release dates by Disney. Disney got these release dates, and now they are giving those release dates to Sony Marvel movies. We talked about this on the morning stream, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. We stream on our Facebook, Twitch, and our live streaming YouTube channel. You should really be there. And I clipped out the portion of the show from earlier today where I'm talking about this thing that happened between Sony and Marvel. So here's that clip right now. Let's talk about this, guys. This is absolute insanity. It's absolute insanity. Marvel Studios, moving dates around, ladies and gentlemen, moving them around. We had thought, okay, MCU's moving some stuff. They had a brilliant strategy. And actually, believe it or not, a lot of people that watch this show, because we have the most educated, most brilliant audience on the internet, a lot of people actually postulated that this was what Marvel Studios was going to do. They were going to push all of their release dates just back. You know what I mean? Black Widow gets Eternals. Eternals pushes into next year, and we just bump everything back one release date. Marvel has obviously a lot of release dates locked on in for a long, long time. All was well, and that seemed to be the strategy. Now, on a side note here, I do want to give sort of a shout out to Adam from Fanjexer. He should be on the show this week sometime as well. Maybe Thursday. I'll have to reach out to Adam, and we'll figure that out. But we had this discussion, or I believe I was making this point, and he agreed with me in the chat. And we were of the mind that, look, studios are delaying things, and we're going to tell you about it. But at the same time, everybody, the world is in such chaos right now that these dates might not even stick. You know what I mean? I'll go as far as to tell you right here and now, I don't even think what I'm reporting to you today is the final decision. I think things will happen, and I think things will still change. But many of you were like, no, that can't be. They'll obviously have these dates. These dates are locked in. This will be good. We'll have these dates. No! Trust me, too crazy. Right now, a lot of people are speculating in Hollywood that the earliest they will be able to get back to work on production for these different films and projects will be late this year or early next year. Late this year or early next year. I'm talking October or past. Okay? So, what did we find out on Friday? Well, late Friday, it broke that because Sony Pictures has to delay Spider-Man, Marvel Studios is going to help them out a little bit. Now, let's get into the actual dates, and then we'll talk about what this means. Okay, so originally, Doctor Strange 2 was going to come out May 7th, 2021. Okay? When Black Widow got pushed, it pushed Doctor Strange 2 to November 5th of 2021. Already a pretty big push. When Friday, they announced another push, we now will be receiving Doctor Strange 2 Into the Multiverse of Madness, the next really big Avengers, 4.5, like a huge, massive movie. That's what we've been speculating about. That's what we think it's going to be. That movie is now coming out March 25th, 2022. It is going to shock you and deflate you how much we're going to be talking about 2022 in this report. I just checked. It's 2020. That's 2 years from now. So, of course, this probably means that WandaVision will be delayed as well, but we'll get into that in just a moment. Thor 4 is actually being flip-flopped with Doctor Strange and will now come out before Doctor Strange and will come out February 11th, 2022. And Spider-Man 3, the Sony movie, is going to take the original pushback date for Doctor Strange 2 into the Multiverse of Madness. That's right. A Sony movie. I want to repeat this. A Sony movie is going to take that November 5th, 2021 date. And for all intents and purposes, that is the reason that Doctor Strange 2 will now be delayed to 2022. And you might say, okay, well, obviously there was some story thing going on there. You know, they had to shuffle it around, you know. Spider-Man's got to come out before Doctor Strange 2. Incorrect. Wrong. Because Spider-Man was originally slated to come out after Doctor Strange 2. Doctor Strange 2, remember, was going to hit on May 7th. Middle of the summer, July of next year was originally when Spider-Man 3 was going to hit. That's crazy. But actually, it doesn't stop there. Because now, you're looking at a 2022, which will have Thor 4, Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, and then it had an October 7th release date. Do you guys remember this? The speculation before Friday was that Blade was going to come in and be the film that took that October spot. Well, guess what's going to take that October spot now? Into the Spider-Verse 2. Which is not only a Sony movie, but it is a Sony movie that would seem to have zero involvement and connective tissue to the MCU and zero involvement from Kevin Feige. 2021 is now going to be half MCU movies and half Sony movies. You understand? And if Morbius squeezes into next year, which could happen, then you're actually looking at 3 Sony movies and 2 Marvel Studios movies. And so the question is, fucking what? Why? Now, this is something we've been talking about on the channel for a long time. We don't know the exact arrangement that Marvel and Sony now have. Okay? Big falling out last year. Big falling out. But apparently, they're now all good. Now, the only thing we heard, we got an official statement by Kevin Feige. We got an official statement by Sony. By the way, that's already weird. It's already weird. When we talk about the Star Wars story in a little bit here, we're going to talk about normal procedures between trades and studios and how that political situation usually works. It was incredibly weird to get the announcement of the Sony Marvel deal back on from frickin' Kevin Feige. That's weird. It's a power play. But he comes out and says that whole statement about how, you know, Spider-Man is the only character that can swing between universes, blah, blah, blah. What we were told was that there were 2 movies now that we were going to get in the MCU with Spider-Man beyond Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 is going to be produced by Kevin Feige and Sony. And then we're getting 2 more Spider-Man movies in the MCU, okay? But we didn't know what's the dealio with that? What is Marvel Studios getting? It felt like Sony was getting the better end of that deal. Now, when I step back and look at a slate in which Sony Pictures is not only forcing delays in the MCU, but is nabbing up Marvel release dates. Marvel release dates, folks. Marvel release dates. These are release dates that Disney has, and they are giving them to Sony. Question is, why? Well, the only thing that makes any amount of sense to me when it comes to this situation is that Marvel must be getting something. Nay, Marvel must be getting something significant. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Why play ball? It's actually the perfect scenario. If Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige wanted to separate, wanted to do their own thing, this is the perfect scenario for them. It is super obvious that it's not on the agenda. And so we've been talking a lot, guys, about, hey, man, Sony's doing their own thing. This is crazy. It's not going to have continuity with Marvel Studios. You know, they're doing their own thing. That's crazy. They're on their own. That's crazy. Well, it kind of would fucking appear not. It would appear that whatever this new arrangement is between Sony and Marvel, it's way more connected than we might have thought. You know, Tyrese, spoiled some stuff talking about how he had this multi-picture deal and that the whole Sony Marvel universe was in the MCU. Okay, that's the verbiage that was used. Now, it's like, what does that mean? Because we were under the impression that this was their Sony version of in the MCU. If you can't tell, does it matter? Sort of thing. The Westworld question, right? For all my Westworld people. That's essentially what we thought Sony's play was. Well, this is Tom Holland. You saw him hanging out with the Avengers. Now you see him hanging out with Venom and all this shit. It's obvious. It's in the MCU. For the normies. The hardcore people are like, yeah, but is it though? Yeah, but is it though? Well, now that I look at these release dates, now that I look at freaking Into the Spider-Verse gets the Blade date, I'm sorry. Strange things are afoot at the Circle K, Ted. Something really wild is going on behind the scenes. Maybe Sony and Marvel are both creating a shared universe. Maybe this arrangement is way crazier than we thought. Because otherwise, I'm having trouble wrapping my head around why this would happen. So what could Sony have given Marvel that would make them want to do this? That would make them want to play ball? Well, number one, I think it's more Spider-Man. That's obvious. I think Feige really, really, really wants Tom Holland's Spider-Man to continue to play around in the MCU. I think Sony is trying to figure out a way to have Tom Holland in their universe, but also go play with the Avengers and things like that, okay? So that's number one. Number two, Norman Osborn. It's obvious. Marvel wants Norman Osborn. As recently as a couple of months ago, I was told that, yes, indeed, Marvel Studios still wants Norman Osborn. They still have plans for Norman Osborn. When we had Charles Murphy on the show, he essentially laid it out there that Marvel's plan was to create a character that could be Osborn, but if things go south with Sony, it doesn't need to be Osborn. It'll be somebody else. They'll plug someone else in. Aldrich Killian, the real Mandarin, it could be a bunch of different people. So I think if I'm speculating here about what I think Marvel Studios might have gotten in this deal in order to make them move these dates around and do this, I think it's the fact that they have more Tom Holland Spider-Man than we're aware of. Because otherwise, why is the continuity that important? Why are you giving favors over to that side? You know what I mean? So, number one, we probably got way more Tom Holland Spider-Man in the MCU. That should make everybody really happy. Number two, probably Norman Osborn. Will probably solidify Norman Osborn in the MCU. I see no other crown jewel. I see no other big thing. I was under the impression that Sony had all the leverage here. But even then, pushing dates like this? That's crazy. It doesn't really make sense. Unless Marvel's getting something really juicy. And so that's what I think is going on, guys. The official news is that, yet again, more delays are hitting the MCU. Doctor Strange 2 Into the Multiverse of Madness, we will now not see until 2022. And Marvel is literally giving their prized dates to Sony Pictures. Something has to be going on there. So that's sort of my rant and just explanation for what I think is going on. Look, we don't know anything for sure, but I think I laid out the points pretty well this morning on the stream. So let me know what you're thinking about this. Can you come up with a solution as to why this is happening? Or do you agree that it's probably just a big sign that something's going on between Sony and Marvel? Whatever you're thinking about this, let us know in the comments section below. And now let's shout out I Once Ate a Taco. Yes, indeed, it was episode 8 of the first season of The Mandalorian that Taika Waititi directed. So shout out to you, I Once Ate a Taco. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know what character from Peter's group of high school friends ends up getting the Venom symbiote later on in Marvel Comics. That's right, I want to know which one of the high school acquaintances that Peter Parker has ends up getting the symbiote suit later on in Marvel Comics. Answer that question in the comment section below. You can click or tap over there if you want to get lost down a nerdy rabbit hole and some of our other content. Like this video if you liked it, and if you want to take your support to the next level, you can consider checking out our Patreon for some behind-the-scenes content and join the list of awesome people you see below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.